Hello everybody, my name is Alan Nicholas, and these are my lovely teammates, Allison Thompson, Michael Schimmeldecker, and Caitlin Myers, and we are the Ultimate Alliance. So our client, Alliance Tech Systems, also known as ATK, is a defense, aerospace, and sporting company. With our product specifically focusing on the defense group, and more specifically the Missile Products Division, headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland, with a subsidiary site in Elton, Maryland. And our product focuses on the bid proposal process. For those unfamiliar with the bid proposal process, essentially, when one of ATK's clients need to get a job done, they send out an RFP or request for proposal. ATK then in turn has a two-phase process resulting in internal delegation, creating a whole bunch of documents like a delegation packet from program managers to ascertain management buy-in from their managers and bosses to essentially get the go-ahead to keep going and working on the project. The second is a physical proposal document that gets sent to the client to tell them how much money the product will cost, how much time it will take, what technology is being used, and other pertinent information that they need to know. Currently, ATK does a really good job winning these proposals, but through the delegation process, they have high discretionary costs that require more time and effort and potentially lower the profit margin they could be making off these jobs. So now I'm going to pass it on to Allison to give our recommendations to ATK.
Thank you, Alan. So after working with ATK throughout the semester, and after getting to know the ins and outs of the proposal process, our team came up with the recommendations that are on the screen behind me. Now, something I want to draw your attention to is the fact that these recommendations aren't just a list of things that they need to implement, rather it's a process. After working with ATK throughout the semester, we realized that we didn't just need to give them a list of things to do. We just need to give them fish, so to speak. We need to teach them how to fish. Give them a process through which that they could continue to improve their bid and proposal process even after we're gone. And so in the process you see above, there are three major steps. You have reaching consensus, metrics, and feedback loop. So it starts with reaching consensus. There are three major parts of reaching consensus. The first two go hand in hand. They are understanding the current state and understanding that the current state needs to change. It really gives them a baseline on moving forward, right? Because if not everybody thinks things need to change, this wouldn't need to happen in the first place. And then the third part of reaching consensus is defining their ideal state, the what and the how. So what do they want their ideal state to be, and how are they going to get there? Then that moves down through metrics, which allows them to look and really set up their success criteria. What does it mean to have a successful implementation? What does it mean to successfully become more effective and more efficient? And then that moves back up to the feedback loop, where they have the opportunity to reevaluate. Is our implementation plan working? Is it improving our internal efficiencies and making everything more effective? Now, when they hit the feedback loop, they have the opportunity to look at their process and come to one of two different conclusions. One of them is, this isn't working. So if it isn't working, no worries, go back to reaching consensus, retake a look at the ideal state, have the opportunity to adjust it, augment it, maybe relook at their metrics, see if they're evaluating things correctly, and then move back through. If things are going well, then they have the opportunity to adjust and augment their ideal state and make it even better than something that we even have in mind at this point in time. So with that, I'd like to pass it off to Mike to tell you guys more specifically what each step entails. Mike?
Thanks. So our first recommendation is all about finding consensus. So Allison gave a quick definition of this, but it's finding what's going on at ATK right now. What are they doing? And then the second part is finding out, what needs to change and the fact that it does need to change. So the third part of this is also, what are you doing correctly? What is ATK doing well that they can continue to do? That's also quite important. And then the fourth part is that finding what can ATK be? What do they want to shoot for and what do they want to be at the end of the day? So we've come up with three iterations for that narrative that we would like them to follow over the coming months. So the first iteration is something we call the 3 rules. We made this up. But don't worry, it's based on real data. We thought about this a little bit. So the first part of the 3 rules is about telling the story. Employees in ATK need to tell their story to the manager, not just the data, but how they came to the conclusions they did, how they came to what the risk is, what the financials are, tell the entire picture. The second rule of our 3 rules is all about communication, being able to talk back and forth between the manager and between the employees. This seems like a no-brainer, but it can be very difficult in a company the size of ATK. And then the third part is making sure all that you do, everything that's internal to ATK, making this bid and proposal, is proposal-centric. So understanding that at the end of the day, this document is going to your client, is going to your customer, and that's what it should be for. It's about the client. So the second iteration we would like ATK to go through is what we call the small wins, the little things that can help build momentum and push ATK forward in this process of change. Some of these little wins include redefining what training is and looking at do employees understand what's going on, making sure they're educated. The second part of our little wins here is about increasing flexibility, allowing employees to get out of the rigid structure of just charts and data, be able to tell their story and move and understand what they're doing. And then the third little bit is all about defining roles. So do employees know what they're supposed to be doing, and then actually making sure they know what other people are supposed to be doing as well. And the third iteration we'd like ATK to go through is all about the big wins. This is after you've built your momentum, we're going to look at the bid and proposal process as a whole. And we can really take this and change it to be the most efficient, most effective thing ATK can do within the bid and proposal process. This is going to be up to ATK to really define and morph as they see what it is. But we're hoping that some of the momentum built in the little wins and our 3 rules can get there. So the second recommendation we have is all about our metrics. This is how you measure success. If you can't measure success, you don't know if you've achieved it. So the suggestions we have for measuring success is number 1, analyzing how much it costs to create this internal proposal inside ATK, and how much is the value of it once you get it to your customer. If you're spending the same amount inside ATK as it costs to build something and the money you're going to receive back from it, you're not going to make money at the end of the day. Not a good thing. So the second suggestion we have for them is to track management approvals. This is all about the approvals process here. How long is it taking to get something approved inside of ATK? But also, how many times is it disapproved? How many times is the manager saying, I don't like what I'm seeing, do it again, or change it? Seeing where the hiccups are and being able to target those, focus them, and then eliminate the structure. And the third suggestion we have for ATK to measure is looking at the bid and proposal process as a whole once it's done. Making sure you review it all before after the client says yes or no, and being able to move past that. For our third recommendation, I'm going to give it to Katie.
So our third recommendation has to do with implementing a feedback loop to strive for continuous improvement. The main characteristics include, of course, a metric system to decide whether or not they have reached success. And if they have, then that's great. They can add another aspect to their ideal state. And if not, it gives them the ability to go back and for the next iteration change something to try again and hopefully that'll get them to the ideal state. Some of our suggestions for this specific feedback loop would be sending the finalized proposal once it's gone through all of upper management's recommendations and approval process back to the proposal creator so that they're able to learn from the changes that were made, and hopefully that'll reduce some time for the next project. So that consequently will also be improving transparency, having very clear expectations between those actually creating the bid and proposal and senior management approving the bid and proposal. And finally, we want to take a look at the metrics after each project to make sure that they're still being effective. We don't want people to get too concerned about reducing their hours if their focus is taken away from the quality of the final proposal going out to the customer. So that's kind of a brief overview of our 3 main recommendations. So I'd like to walk you through the methodology now. So we started with a bottom-up approach to understand the current state of the bid and proposal process at ATK. This started with going out to visit their Elkton location at the beginning of the semester to get a feel for the facility and to put some names to the faces to the names that we heard. And so then once we felt that we had a well enough understanding of the process, we went back out to conduct interviews with program managers, proposal managers, business development, and some of the engineering department. And we were really interested in the roles that they played in the process, their likes, their dislikes, what they spent the most time on, and any recommendations that they had for us to look into farther. So then a lot of the feedback that we received was with their internal delegation package, so we decided that it would be worthwhile to take a closer look at that, which is why we sent out a survey to go to Elkton, and they have a second location in West Virginia. And this delved more into their opinion of the delegation packet and focus that they put on the delegation packet versus the proposal that's actually being sent to the customer, as well as their opinion of what senior management cares about in this internal process. So that was to gain some clarity. And then we saw between our interview and our survey results so they have a military-based company culture. So we met earlier this week with some middle and upper management to discuss the feasibility of our recommendations and how they think it would be best to implement them and start getting the ball moving so that our efforts aren't just lost at the end of the semester. And so our next step is looking to create an executive memo, including the phasing plan that Mike talked about with the small versus larger wins. And that will get signed by the president of the group division and then work its way down to the missile products group and then to the Elgin site in specific. And Alan will tell you about implications of that memo.
So what exactly does this mean for ATK? Above, we've identified 4 factors that we believe will improve based upon these recommendations. First, increasing transparency. As mentioned prior to, we believe it's very important that all employees involved in the bid and proposal process at all levels know at all times what they're doing, how to do their job, and if not, who to ask for help. We find this is very important because the program managers who are actually writing the proposal need to have an idea of what their managers want to see at all times, and the managers should have an understanding of what the program managers think they need to be doing. This is to reduce the disapprovals that go through and overall help the process be more efficient. The next is also increasing flexibility. We find that currently within ATK there's a very rigid structure that can sometimes bog down the bid and proposal process and make it more costly and take more effort and time. We find that through these recommendations it will be more fluid and allow the bids to go throughout the process, not being reviewed again, and overall create a faster and higher quality product to the customer. And finally, that leads me to the last 2 points that sort of go hand in hand. Increasing customer-centric mentality as well as decreasing the amount of time spent on internal documents. At the end of the day, it matters to the customer. The customer and the client is at the heart and soul of this process, so it shouldn't really be about them in the end. And so we find that through these recommendations, the customer is at the forefront of every decision, every action is taken by the employees in the bid and proposal process. And through this, there's an overall faster, cheaper, and higher quality product that gets sent to the client, and everybody wins. And with that, we have a few acknowledgments that we'd like to give. The first being to our prior champion, Kevin, for his time, attention, as well as all the free food that he gave us. So that was very great, appreciated. We'd also like to thank our advisor, Dr. Bailey, for imparting his vast knowledge and wisdom upon us. Thank you for that. As well as our teachers of the 490 Code class, Kylie and Dr. Herman, and the Quest community, and you for listening and taking the time to be here today. So thank you. Oh, and already we have a birthday in the house tonight. Caleb's 21st birthday.
So first of all, great job, great team effort. From the sounds of it, it sounds like there was the soft side here, where it was a little touchy maybe with the client, some of them, their baby was ugly maybe, I'm not sure. But no, it sounds like a very good relationship was established between you and the company. But I just want to know, for this specific project, were you able to apply, or not just apply, but adapt what you learned about the Quest program to this project specifically?
All right. So one of the topics we learned in Quest is about problem dissolution, and it's being able to approach an opportunity from multiple angles and not jumping to your solutions right away. It was very much apparent in our process going through and working with ATKs. We didn't want to jump to any conclusions immediately. We wanted to get all the facts, get all the knowledge, bounce ideas off of people, and I think that really helped us come to a better product in the end. With our recommendations and our iterations. That way, the learning in the ATK can continue to grow and build after the meeting. Next question.
You talked a lot about transparency, about everybody having a good understanding of their roles and everything. Like, who are the people that are participating in the feedback loop and figuring out what the consensus is? Is it just management? Is it everybody that's in the process? That kind of stuff?
So the question was who exactly is involved in determining whether consensus has been met and who's involved in this feedback loop. So we hope that this is a pretty common senior management to be more involved with just the employees working on the bid and proposal process. So that's part of when we were talking about sending the proposal back to the bid and proposal creator from senior management. And that will be especially important just so that that creator can know exactly what senior management is looking for when they go through the approval process. So really, it's not just managers. I mean, it is a huge company, so there will probably have to be some way to get a representative view of it, but definitely from the